At Flint, Michigan in 2006, a young girl, Claressa, is seen jogging early in the morning in snowy weather. She jogs until sunset and then goes to a boxing gym to train, but the boys there mock her, saying she is wasting her time and should become a cheerleader. Coach Jason stops the bullying and asks Claressa to stay away from the gym since girls can't box. Claressa, being a dedicated girl, puts on headgear and asks the coach to let her fight one of the bullies, Zay. Seeing her determination, Coach Jason agrees to give her a chance to spar and show what she can do. In the first round, since Claressa hasn't learned any technique yet, she gets beaten up by Zay, but Coach Jason teaches her how to jab and dodge punches. Young Claressa, being a fast learner in the sport, uses what she learned from Coach Jason and beats Zay in their sparring match. Claressa and Coach Jason are happy with the result, and Coach Jason sees the potential in her. At home, Claressa looks for food, but can't find anything left in the refrigerator. She grew up in a poor family, with her father constantly in and out of jail. That night, she slept with a hungry stomach. The next morning, she sees her mother washing dishes and preparing cereal for her and her two siblings, Bree and Peanut. But instead of milk, they mix the cereal with water. Her mother is disappointed by their situation. At Jason's house, while they are having lunch, Jason asks his wife, Mickey, what she thinks about a girl boxing. Mickey tells him to stop talking about it because she thinks he is referring to their daughter, Keisha. Jason clarifies that he is talking about Claressa and how much potential she has in boxing. Mickey responds that coming from a messed up family can teach you how to fight, agreeing with Jason coaching Claressa. 5 years later, we see Claressa competing in amateur fights. Looking sharp in boxing, she wins by knocking out her opponents, and the audience gives her the nickname T-Rex. After the fight, Jason brings her home and reminds her to prepare for the nationals in 2 months. Inside, Claressa sees her mother with another man and looks disappointed. She goes straight to her siblings, who haven't eaten all day, and gives them their first meal of the day. Their hard situation fuels a fire inside Claressa, pushing her to train even harder so she can provide food for her siblings. One day, after training with Zay, Coach Jason tells her that he can't give her a ride home that night. However, Zay offers to take her instead. As they ride together, we see the closeness between Claressa and Zay and how he supports her on her journey. A few months later, Coach Jason and Claressa fly to Spokane, Washington, to try out for the U.S. Olympic team. There, she meets her rude opponent, Kira, the reigning U.S. champion. Later that night, Coach Jason notices that Claressa is nervous about the fight. He reassures her, saying she will win because she is a survivor. The next day, the fight begins, and the crowd cheers for the reigning champion, but Claressa shows them what she can do and puts up a strong fight. Kira hugs Claressa, attempting to play mind games with her, but Coach Jason reminds Claressa to stay focused and not let Kira manipulate her. After exchanging punches, Claressa finds an opening and lands an uppercut on Kira, taking control of the fight and ultimately winning by points. However, Claressa is still disappointed because the fight was close. She remarks that she has never scored 23 points in her life. This unfolds as the press interviews Claressa. Coach Jason reminds her that she still won and will be heading to China for the Olympic trials. After this, Nicole Thompson, the head of marketing for USA Boxing, approaches Jason for a conversation. She says that USA Boxing hasn't won a medal since 2004 and doubts that Claressa, being a teenage girl, can bring them a gold medal. She asks Jason if she can take charge of Claressa to ensure she focuses solely on boxing until the Olympics are over. They both know that being a teenager is difficult because it is a time for exploration, not just competition. This makes Coach Jason think deeply. Later that night, Claressa receives a call from her siblings and excitedly tells them that she is qualified to compete in China. She confidently declares that she will also win in London and bring home a gold medal, speaking with high ego and full confidence. When Claressa returns from her hometown, her school organizes a welcome parade to celebrate her victory and her upcoming competition in China. However, when Claressa goes to the canteen to eat, the cook serves her only a small portion of meat and a large amount of broccoli for her diet. The cook explains that Coach Jason insisted she only eat food that will help her perform at her best. At the gym, Claressa and Zay playfully box, but Coach Jason notices and quickly stops them. He tells Zay that he needs to help Claressa stay focused on her upcoming match, not distract her. Later, as Coach Jason and Claressa drive home, he brings up her relationship with Zay. He warns her that competing in the Olympics is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and she cannot afford to waste time on distractions. Being a teenager, Claressa finds it hard to accept this, but she ultimately agrees with Coach Jason because she wants to give her siblings a better life. After this, Coach Jason and his wife watch recordings of his past fights from when he was still an active boxer, revealing that he was also a skilled fighter in his time. Meanwhile, Claressa and Zay are spending time together, enjoying each other's company. But when things start to get more intimate, Claressa suddenly stops Zay. She tells him that she can't go through with it because her past still haunts her. She confesses that her mother's friend used to touch her, leaving her with deep trauma. Zay, understanding her pain, reassures her that he has good intentions and is willing to wait until she is truly ready. When Claressa arrives home, she finds her mom partying again with her friends. Her mom invites her to join, but Claressa refuses, saying she just wants to rest. This angers her mother, who snaps that if Claressa doesn't want to participate, she might as well leave the house. Hurt but unwilling to argue, Claressa complies and calls Coach Jason. As he drives around looking for her, he spots her walking alone on the streets and comforts her. He takes her home and lets her stay the night. In the morning, Coach Jason hands her the key to his daughter Keisha's room, telling her she can stay there while Keisha is away. He also informs her that he has spoken to her mother and arranged for her to stay at his house until things settle down so she can focus on the Olympic trials in China. However, when Nicole calls Jason and Claressa to inform them that Coach Jason will not be traveling to China with her, since USA Boxing has assigned an official coach, Claressa suddenly walks out in frustration. Coach Jason catches up to her and explains that traveling to China isn't cheap and that he doesn't have the money for the flight. Overwhelmed, Claressa breaks down in tears, feeling lost without him by her side. But Coach Jason reassures her, promising that he will always call to guide and support her every step of the way. The Olympic trials in China begin, and back home, Coach Jason is working on an electricity post while listening to the radio broadcast of Claressa's match. A proud smile spreads across his face as he hears that Claressa is dominating every round. She wins her first fight with an impressive 27-10 score. After the match, the media interviews her, asking why she chose boxing. Claressa responds bluntly, saying, "I just like beating people." After the interview, Nicole pulls her aside and warns her to be mindful of her behavior. She explains that even though boxing is a combat sport, the public still expects female athletes to be feminine. Nicole advises Claressa to adjust her personality to appeal to the audience. To illustrate her point, Nicole shows Claressa another female boxer posing for a photo shoot. She explains that Claressa also needs to present herself beautifully in front of the audience if she wants to win people's hearts. That night, Claressa tries putting on makeup, attempting to follow Nicole's advice. However, she quickly feels uncomfortable and wipes it off, realizing it doesn't feel like her. Moving into the semifinals, Claressa faces Savannah Marshall, her biggest threat in the competition. Back home, Coach Jason and his wife Mickey watch the match intensely as they see Claressa struggling to score points. Savannah's long reach makes it difficult for Claressa to land her punches. Claressa loses the first round, and when she returns to her corner to rest, her vision becomes blurry, and she can't clearly hear her coach's instructions. As the second round starts, it becomes evident that the fight is one-sided. Claressa suffers her first career loss. Watching from home, Coach Jason feels deep regret, knowing that if he were there, he could have given her the right advice. Meanwhile, Claressa is heartbroken and refuses to talk to him. Nicole then informs them that despite the loss, Claressa still has a chance to qualify for the Olympics because of her impressive performance in her first fight. Later, Coach Jason talks to Claressa, encouraging her and reminding her that boxing is just as much a mental battle as a physical one. He tells her that she must rise after every loss and prove herself by winning more matches. The results of the qualifiers are finally announced. Claressa secures the last spot for Olympic qualification. Nicole and Claressa celebrate the achievement, but despite her victory, Claressa glares angrily at Savannah, her determination to face her again burning inside. When Claressa returns home, she can't stop replaying her loss against Savannah. She watches the fight at school while eating, and at any moment, she gets. One day, she and Coach Jason get into a small argument, blaming each other for the result. Claressa insists that if he had been there, she might have won, while Jason argues that she needs to learn how to adjust and adapt in the ring. Before the argument escalates, Mickey steps in to stop them. Just then, there's a knock on the door. It's her sister, Bree. With a worried expression, Bree tells Claressa that she's pregnant and doesn't know what to do. Claressa, determined to give her family a better life, reassures Bree that if she wins the Olympics, she will earn a lot of money and buy a house for them and the baby. Fueled by a new sense of purpose, Claressa heads straight to the gym to train. She partners with Zay for practice, but he just wants to play around, not taking the session seriously. This frustrates Claressa and she storms out. When Zay catches up to her, she tells him that she can't afford any distractions. She needs to be fully focused on the upcoming Olympics because she is the only one who can help her family. Zay misunderstands her words, thinking she's breaking up with him. Hurt and disappointed, he walks away, leaving Claressa alone with her thoughts. Since then, Zay starts avoiding Claressa outside the gym, keeping his distance and refusing to talk to her. One night, during a training session, they receive an unexpected visitor. The moment Coach Jason sees who it is, his expression turns serious. It's Bo, Claressa's father. Bo says he wants to talk to Claressa, but Jason immediately steps in, telling him to leave so she can focus on her training. However, Bo is desperate and speaks directly to Claressa, asking for a chance to spend time with her and her siblings. Claressa, despite everything, feels her heart soften. She turns to Coach Jason and asks for permission to go. Jason, visibly frustrated, warns Bo that he abandoned his family and is only coming back now because he sees an opportunity. Bo, unfazed, reminds Jason that no matter what happens, he is still Claressa's father. Later that night, the family gathers for dinner. As they catch up, Bo proudly announces to everyone in the restaurant that his daughter is going to the Olympics and boasts that he was the one who introduced her to boxing. When Claressa arrives home late, Coach Jason is waiting for her. He advises her that while family is important, she needs to sacrifice her time and focus on training if she truly wants to win a gold medal and give her loved ones a better life. He then apologizes for not being able to be with her at her last tournament. But this time, he has good news. He has bought himself a ticket to London so he can be there with her at the Olympics. Hearing this fills Claressa with joy and renewed confidence. Determined more than ever, they begin training early the next morning. A powerful training montage follows, showing Claressa pushing herself to the limit, running, sparring, lifting weights, and perfecting her technique. Coach Jason pushes her harder than ever, determined to get her in the best shape of her life before the Olympics begin. The 2012 Olympics finally arrive, and Coach Jason and Claressa head to the gym for her training. As Claressa spars with another female boxer, Coach Jason stands outside the designated area, shouting tips and encouragement. However, her official coach doesn't seem pleased with this and asks one of the personnel to remove Jason from the gym. Meanwhile, the entire USA team gathers to celebrate Michael Phelps's victory in the swimming competition, cheering for his historic win. That night, Claressa struggles to sleep, her mind consumed with thoughts about her match the next day. The following day, her fight against Anna Laurel from Sweden begins. From the upper box, Coach Jason and Nicole watch intently. Before the match, her official coach reminds her to stay focused. If she wins, she will get a chance to face Savannah again. As the first round starts, Claressa dominates her opponent with ease, showcasing her improved skill and strength. It's clear that she has grown immensely since her last fight. She wins the quarterfinal decisively. Afterward, she and her team watch Savannah's match against Russia's powerful heavy puncher, Nadezhda Torlapova. Savannah struggles against Torlapova's sledgehammer-like punches and ultimately loses. Claressa isn't relieved by this outcome. She's disappointed. She wanted her rematch with Savannah. That night at dinner, Claressa sits with Coach Jason, still bothered by Savannah's loss. Coach Jason reminds her that this isn't about Savannah. It's about proving that she can win against all odds. He tells her that even if she doesn't win gold, she shouldn't just return to her normal life. She should strive harder and keep pushing forward. He then shares a story about their hometown, Flint. He explains that Flint is named after a dark, tough stone, a strong one. He tells Claressa that she must be just as strong and tough as Flint and make their town known for something great. The day of the final fight against Torlopova arrives. Claressa, more determined than ever, steps onto the Olympic stage with laser focus. It is revealed that Torlopova is 33 years old, an experienced and seasoned fighter. No one knows how a 17-year-old girl like Claressa could possibly defeat her. But Claressa isn't there to lose. She's there to make history. The first round begins, and Claressa starts strong, landing punch after punch on Torlopova. Her speed and precision make Coach Jason jump from his seat in excitement. But when the bell rings, something feels off. As she returns to her corner, Claressa struggles to focus and can't seem to process what her official coach is saying. The second round starts, and Torlopova, having studied Claressa's movements, adapts quickly. She counters effectively, completely turning the fight around and dominating Claressa. Coach Jason stands up, worried, trying to shout advice, but with the roaring crowd, Claressa can't hear him. Seeing the danger of Claressa losing control of the fight, Nicole quickly works to get Coach Jason closer to the ring. Just as the bell rings for the next round, Jason finally gets within earshot and yells out instructions, reminding Claressa of the training they did together. Hearing his voice, Claressa's spirit reignites. She refocuses, ready for the final round. As the last round begins, memories of all the hard work, sacrifices, and struggles she and Coach Jason endured before the Olympics fuel her determination. She fights with fire, turning the match completely in her favor. Torlopova struggles to land a single punch, while Claressa, with newfound confidence, lands powerful blows straight to the Russian's face. The crowd erupts as the USA supporters cheer wildly. It's clear that Claressa dominated the final round. Then, the final bell rings. The arena falls silent, everyone holding their breath, praying for Claressa's victory. A moment later, the judge steps forward to announce the winner. When Claressa's name is called, the entire stadium erupts into celebration. The USA team, the crowd back home, and even those watching around the world cheer in triumph. Claressa Shields has done it. She has won the gold medal, giving the US its first Olympic boxing gold since 2004. Coach Jason smiles proudly, knowing that everything they worked for has finally paid off. 6 months later, we see Claressa and her mom at a payment center, settling their debts. As they approach the cashier, the woman behind the counter recognizes Claressa and excitedly acknowledges her Olympic victory. However, Claressa barely reacts. Her expression remains distant and unhappy. Meanwhile, Jason is seen tirelessly making phone calls, reaching out to every endorsement contact he knows in an attempt to secure a sponsorship deal for Claressa. But every call ends the same way. No one is interested. Despite winning an Olympic gold medal, Claressa still hasn't landed any major endorsements or sponsorships. The excitement of her victory has faded, and financial struggles continue to weigh on her and her family. This frustrates and disappoints Claressa. She starts to feel immense pressure, especially when people constantly ask her when she'll be signed by Nike or another big brand. One evening, she confides in Zay, venting her frustration. "This isn't what I expected," she admits. "I thought winning gold would change everything, but nothing's changed at all." At a dimly lit bar, Coach Jason sits alone, sipping his drink when Bo suddenly arrives. Bo wastes no time, pressuring Jason about the endorsements and sponsorships he promised Claressa. Frustrated, he blames Jason for Claressa still being broke despite winning Olympic gold. Jason, unwilling to engage in an argument, simply ignores Bo's accusations and walks away. Determined to help Claressa in any way he can, Jason arranges a fan meet and greet for her. At the event, they sell t-shirts with Claressa's signature, and a large crowd shows up to take pictures and get autographs. By the end of the event, they manage to collect $860. Jason, trying to be fair, splits the earnings in half between himself and Claressa, but instead of being grateful, Claressa demands a bigger share. Jason firmly declines Claressa's demand, explaining, "I'm the one who bought the printer and t-shirts for this event. I should be getting more, but I wanted you to have some money for yourself." His voice is calm but unwavering. Claressa, still frustrated, scoffs and looks away, feeling like she deserves better. This marks the beginning of her losing passion for the sport. She starts eating unhealthy food, arriving late to practice, and putting in minimal effort during training. Jason watches in concern but doesn't push her. He knows she's struggling with disappointment. However, he refuses to give up on her. Desperate to get Claressa the recognition she deserves, Jason reaches out to a well-known company's head management, hoping to secure an endorsement. The manager praises Claressa and acknowledges her achievements, but bluntly states that women's boxing isn't popular enough and that the industry doesn't have the budget for it. Jason leaves the meeting empty-handed, his frustration growing. The next day, Nicole visits Claressa with an offer. USA boxing team wants her to train in Colorado to prepare for the 2016 Olympics. However, there's one condition. She can't bring her family. Claressa is visibly disappointed. She snaps. Jason walks in just as she lashes out, stepping in to de-escalate the situation, but she cuts him off. Her emotions boiling over, she yells, "The men in boxing get 3 times more than me, and none of them even won a gold medal." Jason rushes home, confronting Claressa, and this starts their feelings of separation. They both bring up their past mistakes to each other, blaming each other for everything that is happening. Mickey tries to stop them, but Claressa decides to leave their house ungratefully and goes back to her original family, thinking deeply about what she will do now. Days pass, but Claressa hasn't been showing up at the gym lately. She stops boxing and just takes care of her nephew. One day, she realizes that her nephew has run out of diapers, so she goes to the mart to buy some. There, she sees a food package featuring USA athletes on the cover, and she feels jealous. Thinking of a way to help her family, Claressa goes to a pawn shop, hoping to sell her gold medal. The owner asks her to wait while he makes a call. A few minutes later, her mother arrives and takes the gold medal from the owner. The owner acknowledges that Claressa is struggling but refuses to buy the medal, telling her that it represents her hard-earned victory and shouldn't be sold. Overcome with emotion, her mother hugs her, asks for forgiveness for everything, and assures Claressa that they will fix all their problems together. A few days pass, and prom night at Claressa's school finally arrives. Dressed elegantly, she applies makeup and enjoys a sweet dance with Zay. That night, they share a passionate moment, and for the first time in a while, Claressa feels like herself again. Feeling renewed, she returns to training, running every morning and pushing herself harder in the gym. One day, she calls Nicole and tells her that she is now willing to participate in the USA Olympics, but on one condition. She demands fair treatment and pay, just like male athletes. Packing her clothes, she prepares to leave, but before heading out, she makes one last stop. She goes to Coach Jason's workplace. There, the two have a heartfelt conversation. Claressa apologizes for her immaturity during their last argument and tells Jason that she is returning to the sport, determined to win another gold medal for the USA. Coach Jason smiles, forgiving her without hesitation. He tells her that from the first day he met her, he saw the fire in her, the spirit of a true boxer. They share a meaningful hug before Claressa says her goodbyes. As she boards the bus, Zay rushes toward her, watching her go with admiration. In the final scene, real-life footage of Claressa Shields plays, her dominant performance at the 2016 Olympics, crushing her opponents like a true warrior. The screen displays her historic achievement, the first boxer, male or female, to win back-to-back Olympic gold medals.